Hello everyone and welcome back to Wargame Red Dragon. We have a long one for you guys today. This was done in-house. It is a knockdown drag-out fight between myself, Do You Have Base Defense, the Major, also known as Quicksilver, and Bowchick Outrun versus our opponent's Blind Bandit, also known as Rara Canadian, the Captain, and Player 23. And I'm going to be fighting mostly in Cheriton. I've brought, I believe, the Soviets, just general deck. This does give you fairly good access to super heavies, even though it's just one nation, as they do have the BU and the T80UM. And I'm just taking a very standard opening, double book M1, best air superiority fighter you'll ever buy, some mortars, a couple of forces on the ground, probably not enough recon, but we'll see. And then Bowchick Outrun was probably our newest player, and he's going to be playing in Leonid, which is a crucial place to be, while Player 23 and Do You Have Base Defense are already getting engaged. So Sokols versus Bows, that was really unfortunate. The two bows close enough together that they both got nabbed by the same anti-air missile. And then the Lynx 3 in the back being taken out by the Salamandra, because if you do drop down, well, the Lynx anyway in the back, if you do drop down your helicopters onto ground level, they are available anti-tank guided missile targets. So we have a pretty good initial contact there, and the plan is basically hold an Ivan, make sure that we have a good presence in Leonid, and then my goal is to push my opponent out of Cheriton. So if we can manage that, we win the game, because Cheriton is the odd zone out. So if you take a look, Nicholas, Yacht, Michael, Leonid, Elena, Dmitry, Boris, Ivan, everything has a parallel, except for Cheriton. This is the zone that sometimes just wins you the game. So Spetsnaz crew unloaded, BTR 90 moving up, and we are fighting against Canadian here, ironically with US units. I don't know if he was playing NORAD or just US here. I think he has a... oh, I always say it's a general deck or something, and it's actually Marines, but this is not a Marines deck, I think, because he does have the M1A2 Abrams, which is not available to US Marines. So that is a super heavy, ladies and gents, but it's just one, even if it is one of the best in the entire game, with 22 frontal armor, 24 AP. And my two BUs, even though they do have a little bit less armor piercing, should be able to take him out in a, well, even fight. So I think Bowchick Outrun, his help marker there, was telling me that he's going to be bringing in support, and this is something I didn't really want at the time. So if you're listening to this, Outrun, the reasoning here was that you were getting pounded in Leonid, and Blind Bandit is a really ferocious opponent. So I think Base Defense and I were both relatively worried that this position would be lost pretty quickly on, and I do have my own support as well. I have a Smirch that's going to be going in and hopefully doing some good work here. It does hit not much of anything, but look, the HA Abrams is going back, the M1A2 Abrams is going back, we are getting some initial good contact, and my BUs are moving forward confidently, which is what you want to have in a fight like this. Of course, ATACMS from the side is going to be a bit of a problem, but, well, we get a little bit of revenge here with the MIA MTV, which, I mean, this didn't go well, I think, for either party. Had Canadian realized how poorly it went for my BUs, I think he could have probably taken advantage there, but he is moving up, so we'll have to see on that, but this is what we were worried about. So it looks like Base Defense and Outrun are trying to hold back the Blind Bandit himself, but, I mean, this is pretty scary. STRV-103Ds will mulch through infantry, even quad stacks, just because they have a very, very high fire rate, 15 rounds a minute. One of my favorite tanks in the game because of that. But the M84AN, even though it could handle them individually, will struggle against all three. So, meanwhile on this side, I'm drawing all the way back to the town, have brought up some Urals, and it's gone from a good situation to a bad one. So my opponent's riflemen are clearing the way for him. I have a Factoria, of all things, that's just sort of fending off in that town, and I need more reinforcements. This is the thing about USSR, particularly when you start with a Smirch. It's just so expensive. Everything is just terrifyingly expensive, and I am not really used to dealing with that, at least not yet anyway. We'll see as time goes on. This is it, though. This is what we came here to see. That's an ATACMS shot going in directly on my smoke. Had my BUs still been there, they'd both be dead, and this side would have been entirely crumpled. As it is, we got a little bit more lucky than that, and we were actually able to blind some Rangers and take out a Cobra with a Tor. So this guy, probably one of my favorite NTR pieces for USSR. It's a little tricky to use. It's not the most reliable against planes, but it is one of their best options against helicopters. It really just takes people by surprise, I think. 3150 meter range. It's not exceptional, but it is above average, I would say. Average I would consider 2,800 meter range, so 3150 is better than that. So the HA Abrams getting maybe a little bit too far up here, but I wasn't really that concerned because, I mean, this is exactly what's going to happen. He's going to come up here, he's going to get booped by the Factoria, and he's going to go back, and then that's fine. And in the meantime, we really did need help here in Leonid, so the STRVs are moving forward, Monostrelchi not able to hold, and if we lose Leonid, holding Cheriton becomes a bit of a I mean, we're up one, we're down one, right? And that's still not really good for us. Leonid basically becomes the zone that decides it if I take Sheraton, which I haven't yet either. So you can probably see base defense is doing his thing here against player 23, but he's also shifting over. Lots of his reinforcements, particularly in the XI-180s, are coming up here trying to engage against blind bandit stuff in the trees, because if you get pushed back all the way to this zone, it's very hard to take that back. Renoka Yigri in the open is a little bit scary, but at least the Pion is here. These stealth tanks are very good for this, so if you can get shots on the STRV-103D, that could well be worthwhile. In the meantime, this is just, I mean, it's 100, oh no, 70 points worth of infantry running forward, plus, of course, the relatively cheaper wheeled transport, still 10-point tax there. So, Smirch is coming in again. I do have more Motostrelchi coming up, and my BUs, while not entirely healed up, did get some resupply, and I also have a UM, so I have 1, 2, 3. I'm going to try to rely on that to deal with my opponent's super heavies and probably just try to out-attrit them. You can see the DAP coming up on this side, and I might lose the MI8 MTV, but if I can get the trade here, that's good. I just have to make sure that my other expensive unit, the MI28, doesn't get near that DAP. So, clearly 65 points for a 130 point kill is a very nice trade for Canadian, so I'm trying to deny him that, trying to move the Tor over to just deny this whole section, really, to helicopters in the later game if I can. Leopard 2A4, and this is, I don't know, it's so hard to cross this open ground in my experience, which, admittedly, I'm not an amazing player at this. In fact, this is one of my least favorite maps, if that tells you anything about me. But we still are able to get, some good defense there. Then BRDM-3 takes out the DAP. There you go, 65 point kill. And these guys are amphibious, which is really, really nice. I mean, even pretty quick on it, 40 kilometers per hour through the water, and he's just going to go up. He's going to hop over here onto this beach. He's going to get me some recon. He's going to put that autocannon to use if anything else tries to be sneaky. And so far, what we haven't been able to kill in super heavies, neither side has really, we've been able to get in value off of the Cobras and other sorts of helicopters. So I was feeling reasonably confident that I had a small edge on value. But a small edge on value can easily become something greater if you can get the right exploit. So Cobra coming up here, BTR-90 moving forward. You can see Outrun does have some units pretty far forward into Elena. And we have recaptured Leonid due to base defense's intervention here, which is very, very nice. M2A2, and this guy, I mean, 35 points for a transport is worth an ATGM if I can get it online, and importantly on target. And we got the first one, not the second. There it is, that's the kill, 35 point kill right there, and then the V150s tend to carry Rangers, so I like to try to kill them if I can, and this is very nice. So Outruns units, the Motostrelchi moving forward is good, the M84AN is good, but it is a little bit risky to be that far forward against these sorts of things. We did also see a Stinger team, Rifleman, so my Mi-28 is pulling back, having overstayed his welcome, probably came in the M2A2 by the way, that's my guess. And you can see Canadians pushing forward here again because he knows he can take out the M84AN. It's 110 points. It really performs about like a 95 pointer, 100 pointer because you do pay for the recon, the optics. And my UMs and BUs, I was just trying to make sure that they were healed up and they were moving forward in good order so that they didn't get taken out by something needlessly, which right now if we were to engage we'd have the advantage on that M1A2 just because he's already injured, which is not a situation you want to put yourself into. So I am also pinging this just because that Sava is now a little bit vulnerable now that the AN has died, and we were in comms, so it's just a little bit tricky. Basically, a bit of a mistiming there between me and my teammate. I wasn't ready to push forward yet, and when he did with a lighter contingent, it got taken out. So you really need to make sure in team games in particular that the communication is there, because it really does win or lose games if you're able or unable to speak with your team in a manner that helps everyone stay on the same page. So we're pounding into Riflemen right here, not really the best use of these tank guns, but that's why I got the BRDM forward, then immediately taken out by a tank. So I don't know, it was a very contentious fight over in the zone the whole time. A bit of a lucky break for us though. DAP does not know about my BRDM-3, and that is going to be dead to him and the Tor, while we're luckily able to avoid damage from that Hornet. Now that was because of double book M1 along with the Tor, just intercepting him before he could get a second missile online, and now we are definitely up on points on Canadian at this point in the match. So that's going to be a 4th UM buy, and I really just want to shove super heavies down Cheriton because we're so far ahead in the super heavy race if I can get that 4th one out, that it really just becomes a he can't come in here because I have bigger tanks, bigger guns, which is pretty great. Now on the other hand, I should have probably smirched this section from player 23. The 2A4s were there for a very long time. It's just difficult to have that sort of awareness the whole time, and admittedly not really the best on our part there. So we have also gotten about 195 points ticking on our opponents, which is It's a lot on this map. I mean, we're only 10 minutes in. We're, well, I mean, not quite 50, more like 40% the way to victory if we can hold it. It's just that the situation on the ground has never ceased to be a little bit scary, right? There's still Gewehrmen here, there's still 1, 2, 3 STRV 103Ds that I was really hoping we would have been able to clear out by this point, but the 3 of them can also handle infantry in woods, and you can see we're about to lose Leonid again. If we lose that now, we are going to be ticking -1, so our opponents are gaining points on us in this game. And that's exactly, well, it's exactly what you don't want. So, my UMs, my BUs here, a little bit of a combat forward resupply, just trying to heal up the BU, while more Spetsnaz Gru come up, while more Motostrelki come up to screen this out. And this is the engagement that I want to take. So you see the M1A2s, the HAs, and we're picking off his, oh geez, this was terrifying. Look at that, ATACMS shot on my helicopter, and it landed, and it got the kill. I was watching that as the game was happening, just going, what? Yeah, okay. Cluster arty for the win, I suppose, but we have pushed back the M113A3s. That is going to deny my opponent his chaff, while as mine is here. I have MTLBVs, I have all this stuff here ready to take shots while I deal out some damage to the blue 4 tanks. Also, I mean, the Invars and the 80 UMs are never the most reliable shots, but they do have 24 AP, and that is going to be a couple of points worth of damage on both of those super heavies. You can see Canadian does not want any part of that fight for right now, so he's going to be moving back. And by the way, that ATACMS did, I believe, nearly just pay for himself off of that. So everything else from here on out is just gravy, which is what makes that artillery piece one of the best in the game. It's a unicorn unit, sure, but it is really capable for it. So this is another thing. The M84A would have been great, not there, but here. So you already have one here. If we had a second there as well, then we had some chaff units. The M84As would be able to deal with, in groups of 2 or 3, the STRV 103D. 19 AP power, really good accuracy. That is sort of where those needed to be, instead of just getting eaten by M1A2s. That, I mean, my approach to this engagement wasn't in the center here, and it wasn't there for a very good reason, which is the fear of the support from the enemy-held Elena. We saw an M3A2 Bradley that has really, really good ATGMs, and, I mean, Outrun did, I believe, kill the M1A2 here, so if you take a look, yep, it's gone, he got the kill. And that does help, but we would have probably been able to get that through positioning anyway if I'd been able to force him back to this section of woods, which is the current goal, and it wouldn't have cost my opponent points that desperately needed to be fighting in Leonid with this map, with this section of the map anyway already sort of lost. So, Smirch is coming in, looking for that M3A2, we'll see if I can get him or not. Probably not, to be honest. The cluster, the accuracy on the Smirch is not always phenomenal. But here we have now gotten basically our guns within line of the bridge. You can see taking out boxes, taking out supporting things back there, and forcing the HA away. Now, I will say, wonderful withdrawal from Canadian. Just knowing that staying here is going to be a losing fight, knowing he'd be throwing away the HA Abrams, there's no reason to. So he doesn't, and that's fine. That works. That works really, really well. Just withdraw, take the fight later on when you're ready. And in the meantime, my UMs are shooting in here, the T-72BU's healing up, but we're going to get caught unawares again, so, oh geez, Super Gallop. Nice Super Gallop. The issue with planes is that if they can't get out, it's such a big investment, but that one does, and so we are safe. But here it is, double BU, double UM, dead UM down to 1 strength on the other one. Just very valuable shot right there, 170 points. That ATACMS has now paid for himself twice. So once to justify the purchase, and once more as gravy. And I was just sitting there going, I did all that work to get these guys here, and then I guess he was seen getting into the woods, probably by the M3A2, and I just, you know, lost a super heavy, just like that. Snap your fingers, it's gone, you can't get it back. Of course, I do only have 2 of each kind, so, well, that's all my UMs, that's all she wrote. In the meantime, I am trying to make this bridgehead here on the right a little bit of a hard position, because if I can deny the advance on that side, then I have a decent hold on Cheriton, and if we can lock that down, then I can help in Leonid. We can maybe come through the trees on this side, make sure that we do finally kill that M3A2 that's just been a just massive thorn in my side. And in the meantime, I mean, this is not where you want to be holding Ivan, but it was sort of our necessity because of how much the Blue 4 team had been pushing into Leonid. So really just crazy tense game. I think we were all on comms and it just went dead silent for a little bit too, because we were all just, you know, sweating, trying to win this game, trying to get the little bit of an edge, which, you know, you do have that from time to time where people are just giving it all she's got, Captain, I believe, would be what Scotty would say in this situation. But MI-28 coming up, I do have Spetsnaz Gru on this side coming up as well, just trying to make sure that we don't lose the woods, and these guys are of course recon capable and combat capable, although you probably shouldn't, but that's a different conversation. And we are getting some nice kills, and then unfortunately Raven comes in, and there goes my radar AA. So, this was a bit of a tricky situation. My books weren't really within range to help. The tour had gotten us good return on investment, but this is a hard zone to push into because even though there are spots where you can hide things, they're also predictable. Like, you'll have stuff here. You will probably have stuff here. You will almost certainly have stuff here. It's like your opponent's going to take his artillery, shoot at the trees, and get value out of it every single time. But we do finally kill the M3A2 with double BTR-90. I like these guys a lot. I think for a while I took the ADA as a bit more of a squeamish choice because I wanted to spend 20 points instead of 30 on the transport, but these guys are really wonderful if they can get those autocannons online. And we saw right there, taking out the M3A2, that solves a lot of my problems here for a bit. But the Blue 4 team has Cap Leonid, that pops them up to a +2 ticking. If you're not aware, it's 15 points per +1 per minute. So these guys are getting 30 points a minute, and they have 24 minutes left. This is a loss for us right now, unless we do something major about it and quickly. We need to decap Leonid, recap Leonid for ourselves. We need to cap Cheriton, which I am doing right here with the T-72K1. And as a command tank goes, this is really not the best. 2 top armor will die to most cluster artillery, but it sort of was the only option that I really had and felt comfortable with. BTR-90 is just trying to exploit into the back line here, trying to see what we can kill, just make our opponents respond to it. The general idea is if you can pull your opponent's reinforcements somewhere else, you're going to have an easier time handling their front line. So that's all these guys are doing, trying to make them spend something in Dimitri or Elena or redirect their attention or their support. Unfortunately, there's a tank back there, and I just get wrecked. Probably a 103D, frankly, or 2 from Blind Bandit. So I did just kind of feed him some points. It's a little unfortunate. But we have locked down this river crossing. Both the HC Abrams remaining from Canadian pulled back entirely across the bridge, and for right now I felt very secure. Unfortunately, we did lose the Cap and Michael, so even though we have Cheriton, it's still a +2 for the Blue 4 team. Very much not something that's okay over a long period of time. SU-7B. Yeah. Oh, man. I want to like that plane so much because it's very cheap for what it does as a seed plane, but it's also very low performance, so you get what you pay for and you don't get what you don't pay for. It's sort of how that unit goes. Smirch going in, and we're looking for the STRV-105. Not the most valuable target, but he'd been there for a while. And again, this is one of those expected positions where people will put things if they take Leonid, so I was just trying to get the guaranteed shots. Dispersion, per usual, sort of causing me some trouble. But STRV-103, sorry, Strip BV-90 from Blind Bandit is spotted. Unfortunately, we don't really have anything that can really damage it too much, unless... Okay. If you're trying to kill the Strip BV-90 here, what you do is you turn off the tertiary. The RPG-75s will target onto the Strip BV-90, and we would be doing some damage, even if it wasn't all that much. And instead, because they had the tertiary on, they're still engaging Fallskirmjäger, and they were able to pull back at least a little bit in good order. So, not really what you want to have happen there, but it could also have been worse. It really could have. So, in the meantime, Canadian is moving back across the bridge. He has riflemen just force-pathing their way into... well, lots of enemy guns, but the HC Abrams are crossing on the other side, and I don't have enough of a position forward to deal with that, in part because of the fear of the Fennec TOW 2 from Blind Bandit, which is very much a don't come over here sort of weapon. And since I had the books, but I lost my good anti-helicopter piece, I couldn't really handle that. Unfortunately, they do withdraw the command vehicle into Elena, and though we have resecured Ivan, this is still going to be a really hard fight. So we're within about 55 points of each other, and there's still 20 minutes left. It is anyone's game. If we can cap Leonid, it'll become ours. But that's a big if. So, Hornet coming in, he's looking for my super heavies. Book M1 is on, and down goes the Hornet just in time to save the BU. But unfortunately, it does cost us one of the BUs to the enemy Raven from Canadian, which, over a long period of time, that will become hard for me to replace. I don't have all that many of these, and, I mean, yeah, they're a bit less important than keeping the BUs alive and taking out things like the Hornet, but they're not free, and so that really did, I guess, cramp my style a bit. In hindsight, I played way too heavy into the helicopter game, and it didn't really get good payoff. I should have brought up more support on the ground, should have brought in more anti-helicopter pieces, more anti-air pieces, and just more chaff to try and make sure that my opponent wasn't able to just get kills for free, and really zone me out by having more on the ground than I do. Some of my chaff, though, is headed over into Leonid, some Motostrelki, MTLBVs, just trying to clear out things like these LHV from Blind Bandit. Of course, these guys are 5-point militia men, so my Motostrelki are considerably more valuable than the LHV, but they're also going to win that fight hands down because they have a tertiary anti-infantry weapon, and my opponent does not. So, in the meantime, with that going, we're going to pressure into Elena. Ildatusgruppe 85 are pretty good fire support teams. Carl Gustav M3, of course, is very nice. And I do, unfortunately, lose my first group, but we all know the second. We're moving up. I didn't think they had anything here. My mistake, and it does end up costing me quite a bit. But we are moving, again, trying to keep these guys away from more ATACMS fire, but there's an MLU, and it's a certain feeling in team games when you know that other people's planes are also going for your units. That's a little scary. And that MLU didn't actually kill my tank, he killed my other anti-air piece, so he's going to get out scot-free because there's nothing left here to shoot at him. Which, that really hurts, man. That really just is not a good feeling at all. ATACMS shot, by the way, coming in yet again. Let's see what he's going for. Looks like my tank's old position. Yeah, I mean, anytime I just have smoke that stays in one space, it looks like Canadians just targeting it as a, oh, your tanks are there? Cool. Well, let's indirect fire them. And it will work eventually. So, you can see I have been pushed back from my forward position in Cheriton, but we also really haven't made as much progress as I'd like here. BMD-2s, though, are pretty expensive, but they are able of getting that long-range fire support. My Motostrelki moving up, Ildatusgruppe getting spotted, BMD-2 shooting in, but they move, and I no longer have line of sight. So, nice reaction by Blind. Just knows his stuff. Very, very good player. Can kick my ass any day of the week, twice on Sundays and all that. But this is our opportunity. Elena is, for whatever reason, decapped, and I still really don't know why that is to this day. It looks like it might have been a cluster kill, or they were pulling him out to avoid the cluster. Yeah, curious about that. If people who are playing know why Elena got decapped, because that is why we're taking +1, and we're widening our gap at a time when the when the blue 14 really can't afford that for too much longer. So OSAs are coming up just to replace the more expensive pieces. These guys, 2,800 meter range versus helicopters, and they can actually kill planes. 7 HE means that they can actually one-shot crit planes if they get a little lucky. But I'm losing zoning control on this side. There's more riflemen moving up. There's a DAP here again, and we will hopefully get a shot on, but 1-2 shots, 0 hits, and I was just really kind of upset about this. It's just like, ah. And the DAP did get eyes on my command tank. There he goes. Cheriton's gone. We're down to 0-0, even with resecuring Leonid. But this looks somewhat more promising, right? So long as we can hold Ivan, which base defense has been doing such a good job about, hasn't even really featured all that much in this replay so far. And if we can hold this, we're fine. It's just that that's a big if, and you'll see why here in a little bit. But Spetsnaz are pretty far forward. That's giving us nice recon here on both Blinds and Canadians' position. I was hoping to get the RPG-26s online against the automatic, but moving in the open ground against an automatic is always a risky thing. So I hop out, I'm trying to get the kill there, and instead I get attack moved onto the RBS-90. So trying to get back in, and that was a big punch I really didn't want to take. And the automatic comes closer anyway, so I'm sitting there going, man, I should have just waited. It would have been a lot easier to do that there. I mean, if we can kill the RBS-90, that is a pretty good thing, 25-point pickup for us. But I really wanted the automatic, that was the prize, and I don't quite think we managed to get it. So my super heavies have pulled all the way back. I have both BUs still, and I'm not sure what happened to my other UM. Could have been another ATACMS shot, I don't think so. Might have been a plane. I've been getting bullied by planes here for a little bit. But, I mean, BMD-2s are able to resupply this front line with the support that it needs. VDV-90, not really sure why I brought these guys up, frankly. These guys can't really do anything in the open field that Motostrelki can't, because it's not infantry that does the killing in the open field. It's tanks, it's helicopters, it's everything like that. BUs are looking for an engagement here. If I can get one good engagement on Canadian, I really want to take out that HC Abrams. The BMD-2s are a little bit funny with their ATGM. So the Conquerors, base Conquerors missile, 20 AP power, 45% accuracy. It's not going to really be a workhorse sort of thing, but it's fending off a 155-point tank right now. That works just fine for me. We are also bringing up more resupply and another Tor, because the OSAs, we've used most of their shots. I think they did get a kill, but yeah, I don't know. I wanted something a little bit longer range, and the Tor fits that bill, as long as I can keep them alive against my enemy's seed, which is, of course, anti-radar AA planes, which is really just sort of a jerk move when you think about it. Anyway, yeah, there's the Raven. There goes my Tor. Very long life there. Not the best show-off of micro for this, but My Spetsnaz crew are still pretty far forward. We're spotting a lot of Canadians' units here. And even, I mean, this is a relatively sneaky position that I'm trying to hold just farther forward outside of where I expected them to maybe shell if they do start moving into this position. And I was also hoping, this is a bit of a trick. So the TOW-2 from Blind Bandit has been here for a long time. I'm trying to engage the HC Abrams and the M382 Bradley, but I also really wanted that helicopter to come forward. As it turns out, Outrun Sava gets the kill, and I was very jealous, but you can see the OSOs were following right there, trying to get that. Now, we decap Elena. We do also have, I believe, well, no, not quite yet. There should have been, oh, here it is. Komendnoa Odelinia from, well, my own forces, just going up to cap Cheriton, and if we can get up to a +2 with 14 minutes left, that can feel like a really safe position, so we'll have to see. Malyutka's going in against an M382 Bradley. Oh, this is hilarious. But they get the kill. Never underestimate the humble ATGM. It can do a lot more than you might think. And this, I have to say, was a lot more progress than I thought we'd make into Elena. We had such a hard fight over Leonid for so long. I was sitting there thinking to myself, there's no way we're going to be able to push these guys back. I mean, we've been taking some bad trades. The SDRVs were very punishing, but base defense and outrun have been applying persistent pressure, and combined with the Spetsnaz crew, the scouting we're able to get on these guys is scary enough. I can see why they were drawing back to Dmitry at this point in the game. It's not what you want to do, necessarily, I mean, basically ever, but it is something that's occasionally necessary. So another Malyutka should do, ooh, a side shot? Oh man. Very nearly a kill there from the Malyutka P vehicle. Pretty uncommon choice. Most players don't tend to go for the ATGM vehicles just because they do tend to be a little bit likely to not contribute positively, shall we say. They tend to miss and then not really get much value, but, ooh, jeez. Hate it when it does a snap too. So, more Spetsnaz crew here, really expensive, but I was hoping the BTR-90s would do good work, and I really just wanted recon here, because the more recon we can get, the more things like smirch shots I can get in. Well, I think this thing doesn't really kill much this entire game. I'm not really the best using things like smirches, so any tips are of course appreciated. I always fire it where I think they are, and they're never there, which is, I guess, why you don't fire it where you think things are, but that's what I was doing. So, we're going to fast forward just a bit here. Unfortunately, my Spetsnaz crew taken out by enemy artillery. Really kind of a rough thing. I mean, just really expensive units for that. Of course, with the transports being expensive as well. But we have a nice engagement. Enemy KWS is taken out. L19, of course, one of the highest performing, I think, in the game. Certainly at the price point. I mean, there's better. There's the Rafale, there's other things like that, but I like the L19. It, of course, suffers from relatively low veterancy for 2. But, okay, here's another ATACMS shot. Let's see. Let's watch this one go in. Where's he going? Oh, yeah. Double BU, 10 strength each, right? Yeah, no. Not even a little. So, very nearly another super heavy kill there for Canadian. As it was, just 1 strength left on the BU on the right-hand side. And I'm pulling back. So, again, that artillery piece has just been so crazy impactful here. It's kind of ridiculous. And without me really being able to kill the HA and the HC Abrams from Canadian pretty much the whole game, I mean, he's trading pretty well. It was kind of annoying. It's like, remember, this game, whenever you do something that's amazing, your opponent is kicking himself like, how did that happen to me, right? So I was kicking myself, and it really just was one of those plays where I think Canadian would probably be pretty happy with it. Just, using the tools that he has, using them well, and forcing me back. Which, if the Blue 4 team has a way back into this game with 10 minutes left, they need to do it right now. They need a little over a +1 in order to win, although a +1 I think would see them tie. And the only way to get that is to deny us our +2, so they need Elena back, they need Cheriton, they need Leonid, or they need to push into Ivan and still get most of the other zones. So at this point in the game, everything looks hunky-dory for red, right? Yeah, our forces are a little bit thin, but we have a forward board position and it's conquest, so at the end of the day, board position is what matters, right? Just you wait. Just you wait. This game is not yet over by a long shot. And by the way, it features a KD, not from me, but a KD you'd have to see to believe. It was pretty crazy. So, don't really know what was possessing me to bring up the BTRT here. I think I was just thinking to myself, let's see if we can get a long, sustainable presence in the town in Elena. That's why it's more Skrezhets, more MTLBVs. I really haven't been buying much stuff for Cheriton for a while. Just on the thought process of, right now Elena's the more important zone. If we lose Cheriton, we still hold Leonid. That's fine. If we lose Elena, Leonid's under threat, right? Like, Cheriton alone is not necessarily the most scary thing to lose. My Spetsnaz crew moved a bit too far forward here. It does force Canadian back again, but they're no longer in their safe spotting point in this section of woods, and I will come to regret that relatively soon. In the meantime, VDV-90s, Scratchets, MTLBVs, just getting more and more bodies into Elena, trying to deny them this zone, or moving past it, rather, for as long as possible. Yeah, ooh. Was that one missile too serious? Jeez. Yeah. One AA missile, I think just double critted. Goodness gracious, that's such value. Okay, well then we did have a little bit of good micro. I think we were able to damage but not kill that Raven. Ooh, did we? That's a bug? We shouldn't be able to see that. If you see the little smudge, that plane has nominally evac'd. Oh no, okay, he's just outside of our recon range. That makes more sense. So, BUs are healed up. They have been here pretty much since the beginning of the game, and they are still my anchor against those HAs and HCs on this side. But M84A, a little bit outclassed here on its own, and it's just, I was constantly not as far forward as my allies were, and this is something that I need to work on as well, because doing that allowed lots of my allies' stuff to die. And granted, it was in part because I really didn't want to take that fight yet, and I was looking to have some better coordination, but if I don't say that out loud, it's not going to happen. So you really have to make sure you're communicating better, and that is something that applies basically everyone on every team at all times. There's no end to good communication, unless you're just pinging everything every 2 seconds and your opponents want you to just shut up. But I've never actually seen that. So until I see it, I'm not really sure I'm going to believe that exists. So VDV-90 Mostroki doing some good work here, but a little bit of a scary position, and the BUs finally think that they're going to get that HC Abrams. We've been waiting all game for it. There's a longbow. But this was, again, a little bit of a bait. So I'm pulling back into smoke. Oso shooting in. We got one shot. We got one hit. And, come on, out of ammunition. So longbow's still alive. Osa's not able to get him. My second one did die. We do get the kill on Nighthawk. By we, I mean Outrun here with his Neva Mitt. Very nice shot. And my BUs, while damaged, will live to fight another day. So this was sort of an endless skirmish between me and Canadian. It was really kind of impressive. I've very rarely seen tank fights this long that had this few casualties. And most of them on either side were either from planes or artillery, not even from other tanks. So it really was just a bit of an odd thing to see. K-52 and the Sava getting a kill on a longbow. I think the Sava actually got it, which again, one of that killed my name. But, I mean, we took it off the board, which is what matters. Unfortunately, most of the stuff here has died, mostly the NM135s and other sort of supporting elements. And if you can get this many guns online in an infantry fight, it is beautiful. It will win you that fight with infantry that otherwise would definitely struggle. So, on this side, you can see this is looking really bad. We have 7 minutes left that we still need to hold. And Canadian is going forward, and he's going forward with purpose. We have another ATACMS shot coming in, and nearly kills a mortar. Probably not really what he was hoping for. I think he was looking for my tanks resupplying. Probably saw the Podnos, but couldn't see what it was. And this is happening so quickly that my Osas get a little bit overextended on the reinforcement route. I think I called them in to deal with other stuff previously. MiG-27K, and we do get a kill. So that was worth it, at least for right now. If we can get out, even better. And we do fend off those super heavies just a bit longer. Just a bit longer. Sapri, by the way, doing decently well. So people tend to like the Sapri 85 for the wrist launchers, but I've recently been coming around on regular 10 strength Sapri because it's just so much more health, and your goal with these is often to hold, is to clear things out in towns. The Sapri do it just as well as the Sapri 85 because they can take more of a hit. It's not enough to have us hold Elena though, and this is just an all-out push because the Blue 4 team knows 141 points to 423, they have to win right now, or they lose. They have to push us entirely out of everything, or they lose. And so, I mean, this is going to be a push that does not stop. It cannot afford to. Roughly at the 5-ish minute mark, it gets to be a little bit difficult bringing anything mechanized forward and actually having it get into combat before the game's functionally over. So, I mean, that sort of gives you a bit of a different perspective from earlier engagements in the game where people are going to bring in reinforcements, they're going to factor that in as something that they can afford to wait for, and now they really can't. But I also can't either, so my Commando Altalinea are just out here completely unsupported by anything other than a single Factoria team, which is not enough, very much not enough, and a BRDM-3 that's not really, capable of punching that either. Another ATACMS shot, let's see what it's going for. Ah yes, cluster the infantry. Cluster the infantry? Cluster doesn't hurt infantry, just so you guys know. but it was kind of funny. 27k coming in again, we do get another kill, but that is going to be his last gasp there, so it did clear us out a little bit of pressure, but CV9030N's moving in, Geverman, lots of things from Blind Bandit, and we're losing Leonid. We've lost Cheriton as I am just sort of walking my way back, trying to stay trying to stay functional for as long as I can and just stay out of the range of his gun. So you can see him smoking a little bit ahead of the Command Noah, and a bit of a mistake here. I thought they were just barely in the zone. They're just barely out of the zone. So a little bit of a correction, and we are going to be trying to cap this again, just to deny the Blue 4 team that ticks. We're back to 0-0. We have completely lost Leonid. They're actually cutting through on the side behind my forces in Cheriton, which is awful. It's not what you want to have happen basically ever. I actually just lost a KA-52 to CV9030Ns, which is probably the best kill of CV9030Ns I've ever managed, to be frank. And this whole position is now basically lost. If I can't hold this section of woods, then I can't have good resupply. My BUs are up here now, sort of the last bastion of my frontline forces left, but they have no recon, they have no supporting elements. We do see a Command Abrams here, and I really wanted that kill, but we're getting stunned by enemy artillery. Even if it can't do much damage, it is denying me functional use of my tanks. And they have capped Cheriton now. Command Noah moving just a bit, and this is looking horrible. They have a +4, because look, Leonid is capped, Cheriton is capped for blue, Ivan is counter-capped for blue, so they have something up in this section of woods probably that is counter-capping Ivan completely, and, I mean, geez, this is 60 points a minute. So at 3 minutes, that's 180 points. It doesn't quite get them there, but it gets them really flipping close, and if they get a +5 for even a second, that is going to be just game blouses right there. So I lose both the BUs, and Cheriton's uncontested. I'm just trying to get some sort of hold on the towns. They don't cross the river and threaten Nicholas, which if you lose Nicholas on Patty, it's just gone. You're just done. Just surrender right then, because your opponent's going to be ticking at +6, +7. It's going to be just awful. 25 RBT, 105 point plane, I think, 115 maybe? 105. And I was going for the CV here. We do damage it, I think, pretty severely. Let's take a look at that. No, that was the M3A2. Yeah, we hurt him a little, but yeah, most of those hit markers were off the M3A2 Bradley. Yeah, a little disappointing. And we weren't able to quite get him to move back. And yeah, I needed stuff in the front line I didn't have. But this was just sort of desperate. See if we can decap Cheriton, see if we can slow the bleed just a little. And we have. So Ivan's been retaken by Do You Have Base Defense? Kartniakri struggling against 2 A1s, but we still did force them out of it for long enough that it's down to a +3, down to a +2 now as Cheriton is repositioning. And at a +3, they still don't win this in 2 minutes. So it was a race to hold just enough to hold this in. VDV-90, by the way, Vampire missiles. If one of them had hit, I would have been so happy, but so often I see these guys miss both their first shots. I have no idea why. It is just anecdotal, but it's my experience playing with these sorts of infantry. And look at that, fire computer reset, that's so much better. We only needed a second one, so that second volley would have been able to get a kill with only one. Motostrelki going for it, though. Got 2 points of damage, and let's see, I think I was fighting their minimum range on this. BRDM 3. 1 point to strength. Okay, we do get it with the VDV-90. That is going to fend this back from Canadian. Just a little bit longer. Block 5 coming in, and Ivan is counter-capped again, so it looks like they just moved him out, moved him back in. This was one hell of a fight, honestly. This is what I like most about our in-house games. They tend to be very contentious, very good, honestly. And we had a newer player on our team as well, and he still had a very, very nice game. And I think we all got a lot out of it, which is, I mean, that's why I play this, that's why I look at the replays. I want to have fun, sure. I want to have fun during the game, I often do. Not always, but overwhelming majority of the time. And then I also want to, see about how to get better at the game, see about things I didn't know about before, and I definitely would have handled some of my buys in Cheriton very differently. I would have kept more forces on the ground, not really been as tempted by that nice USSR helicopter tab, and I think that would have been able to help us hold a bit better in Cheriton, maybe even push into Elena just that little bit more. So, you live and you learn, and hopefully every game you play just a bit better than your previous. So, that's going to be the closing seconds of this match. Let's go ahead and take a look at the kills and losses. Let's see, jeez. 12, 8, 13 kills for blue, 8, 8, 90 losses for blue. They had almost 50% advantage on us in terms of kills, and still lost the game on Conquest, 439 to 337, so that has to hurt. Blind Bandit, That is nice. That's a nice kill loss ratio. 72-61 to 28-35. And for those of you wondering, why more of it didn't get pushed forward, a lot of these kills happened sort of in the later section of the game. Particularly on my end of it, I think I lost about 2,000 points in the last 6 or 7 minutes. And so a lot of that kill list came in, I guess, right when the game was about to close, not necessarily in the middle. And all you see right here is a snapshot at the end. But units that did well, the BUs survived as long as they possibly could. Not a lot of high value kills on them though, so the Tor is a bit more useful. 2 DAPs, Cobra, Hornet, Cobra, very happy. And generally just things got enough value to hold, other than maybe the Smirch only killing an M3A2 and an MT Jupiter. I really need to get better with those artillery pieces. But that's going to be all we've got for you guys today. Thank you all for hanging around, and we'll see you again real soon.